Welcome back to the I've Created a Monster podcast, a bi-weekly random chat where I chat about random things bi-weekly. Yeah, I am your host, Rushni Cope, aka Glamazini, and as always, I am here live with my patrons. If you would like to be live while I record this podcast, become a supporting patron at patreon.com/Glamazini. And now we're going to start with personal updates as usual. Today's headband is Fox. It's a repeat. You guys have seen this one before. I was feeling kind of like in this two-tone gray and gold situation going on. And I did contemplate wearing black bunny ears, which is on the screen for those watching on video, but it just didn't go with the flow. And so I went with Fox, even though you guys have seen this before. I finally looked up the name of the grouping of headbands that I recently bought, and it is not the Serengeti package, although I don't know if this is the exact one because the listing has changed, but I'm going to go with it. I bought the Safari Jungle package of headbands. So I don't know what animal is on the Safari Jungle that looks like this, but I am going to go with What Does the Fox Say for 500 Bob. Next, I voted today. If you are online, you can see I am wearing the obligatory I voted sticker. It was for mayor and alderman or two, and also for a proposition here in the county where I live. My voting strategy is if you send me a flyer that basically has the word patriot, true conservative, American flags strewn all over it, and or photographs of -92's pew pew attempt, and you say boldly with your chest the evil that's in your heart and put it in my mailbox, I go into the voting booth and I vote against you. It doesn't mean that I'm not informed, but it does mean that if you do that, I do make note of who you are, and you're basically telling me to vote against you. Why are you getting those things in your mailbox, Rushni? Unfortunately, I live in a red state, in a red county. I am surrounded by evil. And you're like, why are you there? Listen, it's a long story, and hopefully one day I'll share it with you when it is shorter and my nervous system can handle it. Okay, next, update on my uploading these videos to Facebook strategy so that I can cha-ching be where the money reside, where the money reside, where the money reside. I actually had to pull it up right before I went live with my patrons to see what the earnings are. Earnings are up 361.3%. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and screenshot that while we're here, so I could put it on the screen for you guys. Okay. So apparently my strategy is working. I had a video go viral last week, week before, didn't even know it was going viral. Friend sent it to me in text message and was like, hey, somebody posted this. And I was like, that's my friend. That's my friend. And I went back and I had to look at the numbers. And I was like, oh, okay. How could you not know a video is going viral, Rushni? Because I lived a life of making funny videos that went viral all the time on Facebook some years back. And I learned as a content creator that it was just easy to set it and forget it. Throw it out into the atmosphere, see what it did. And then, just let it. Don't get too attached to the outcome. Hey, that'll preach. Now, as a content creator, I did have to circle back and learn to check analytics so that I could tweak what I'm doing. But I'm just saying that's how I could have a video making me some money, not a lot of money, but more money than usual and not even know it. Next, I am still in the job market. I am looking for a part-time remote job to replace the part-time remote job that I worked for 4.5 years that I was laid off from last May. Okay. I put in for family medical leave so that I could be free and clear for my son's surgery on Friday last May. And on Tuesday, I was laid off, which is the story of my life, because when my son was in my stomach and I was waiting out back contract back in 2012, I was going to wait till the end of my contract in May to just not renew and go ahead and give birth to my son, whose due date was July 4th. And they ended my contract in February. So it's just history repeating itself. Anyway, if you are aware or you know of anyone who would love to work with me, please contact me at ini@glamazini.com or in the Instagram inbox. I am super excited because I have been going down the UGC rabbit hole. Not going to spend a lot of time on it here. However, UGC is user generated content. And I have been wanting to get into intentional brand deals because last year I did a brand deal or two very unintentionally. Brands just reached out to me, asked me to do something that I was doing already and gave me money for it. And I was like, oh my God, maybe that's where the money resides. So I may be looking into that, but we don't have anything to share with you about that just yet here. If you're interested, become a patron because they always get the behind the scenes of the business stuff as well. No updates to give on my son Zion. He is doing impeccably. We have a follow-up this week with new specialists just dropped. Okay. And now on to rest in peace. RIP to Mia Love, who was the first Black Republican congresswoman. She died recently after a cancer battle. It's so prevalent. It almost seems like every single time I see somebody in the news who has passed away, it is cancer. And that is sad. And I think it's indicative of America and how all of these things are causing our physical bodies to reject, our food, our like stress. The whole system is not set up for us to win. And even if I am possibly not in agreement with a Republican congresswoman's stance, I don't know anything about her, but based off of what the Republican Party has become, it's highly likely that she had stances that I was not rocking with. Okay. And she was a Black woman. So somehow she was over there. Maybe she was an 8%er. I have no idea. Or maybe she wasn't. Maybe she was moderate and she too was confused about what had happened to her party. But she was a Black woman. She was doing what she did, and rest in peace to her. And thank you for your service, hon. Also, recently, actor Val Kilmer passed away from what? Say it with me. Throat cancer. Cancer again. Whenever I think of Val Kilmer, I think of Batman. I think of him taking over the role from Michael Keaton in Batman Forever. That's what comes to my mind. And so rest in peace, Val Kilmer. Apparently he was dealing with this cancer diagnosis for a decade, and he finally succumbed to it. And I just want to say thank you to him as well. And thank you for putting your art and creating your art and putting it out into the world. And now let's move. I feel real chill right now. This is like the smooth jazz version of Rushni. I have no idea why. Moving right along, pop culture. Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl halftime show received over 125 FCC complaints. Clearly, Kendrick ruffled some feathers. The Grammy winner's appearance at the Super Bowl, which has a ridiculously high viewer rate. Let me see. Introduce me to that bye. I was strictly with that bye. Bye, bye. Bye, bye, bye. Bye, bye. Woman number 7, baby, drop it like it's hot. Okay, focus. I looked it up and it has over 116 million views. You'd love to see it. Okay, in 1 month. He got all kinds of complaints called in. First of all, people called in and said that there was provocative dancing. People called in and said that there was gang Sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but it's so ridiculous. The racism is so ridiculous that I can't do anything except chuckle. They called in and they said there was gang affiliation. Quote. And people also called in and said that there was just blatant racism. They were very upset because they were saying things like, what if there was you ready for this? What if there was a Super Bowl performance and there were no Black people? People said that a lot. Like they thought it, pondered it, let it sit in their body, and then acted on it. Went to wherever you file I don't even know how to file a FCC complaint. These people really know how to Karen. Do they get a handbook? Them suckers went and continued. Nothing stopped them. Picked up the phone. I'm gonna go with phone because it said call and spoke it out their mouth. And when they heard it come out their mouth, when they heard the diminished cognitive functioning and racism come out of their mouth, they was like, I did it. And they went about their business. Not 100% sure what to do with that, but yeah, that happened. Okay. I just saw this and I forgot all about this. So I'm about to include this. A company called Colossal, this is off the rip, okay, has de-extincted, as in it was extinct and now it's not extinct, some sort of hybrid wolf situation, okay? Why do I remember the name of the company? Because I made a funny video a few years ago about this same company attempting to bring back, ready for this, the woolly effing mammoth. That's not the name of the animal, Rushni. It's just called the woolly mammoth, but I have to put effing in there to give it like a punch. These people were trying to use DNA and rebirth, de-extinct the woolly mammoth. And in my funny video, I said, I think there's a reason why it's extinct. Matter of fact, let me pull up the video and play it for you. Here we go. Scientists want to resurrect the woolly mammoth. Geneticists led by Harvard Medical School's George Church aim to bring the woolly mammoth, which disappeared 4,000 years ago, back to life. Proponents say bringing back the mammoth in an altered form could help restore the fragile Arctic tundra ecosystem, combat the climate crisis, and preserve the endangered Asian elephant. However, it's a bold plan fraught with ethical issues. You think? Just ethical? Our goal is to have our first calves in the next 4 to 6 years. Oh my God. Okay. And said tech entrepreneur Ben Lamb, who with Church has co-founded Colossal, a bioscience and genetics company to back the project. Okay, I probably should look this up before I say it, but I'm just gonna go out on a limb here and say, white people, why? Doesn't the word mammoth mean big enough to kill all of us? Proponents say bringing it back in an altered state. Okay, I need a little bit more information than that. How are you altering this state? Are we going smaller? Are we going toothless? Are we going hairless like a cat? Pet size, like one of those little pygmy goats, those little pygmy pigs, whatever. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say, they died off for a reason? I don't want to see it. Can y'all do this after I'm dead? Here we go. The goal is to do it in the next 4 to 6 years. That's not after I'm gone. That's now. And the name of the company is Colossal, because I'm assuming that that's the level of mess a random woolly mammoth is going to cause. Apparently, this very same company, whose name I remember, because I remember saying, aren't they about to make a colossal disaster, has successfully unextincted from the DNA an animal that didn't exist. I don't know if they did straight, like it's a straight cut, like pure, pure animal, or a hybrid thereof, but what the entire hell? And you know what I said on that video, and I'm gonna say it again. On that video, I said I knew without a shadow of a doubt these people were white. I knew it. And when I researched back then, they were. And I am not shocked by that. For reasons that if I have to explain, you probably are part of the problem. Let's move along. A bride named Kaylin Chapman went viral for, you ready for this? Choosing to not wear makeup on her wedding day and saying it out loud. Once again, a bride went viral in 2025 because she, one, chose not to wear makeup on her wedding day, and two, made a video where she said it out loud. Now, here's the thing. I saw old girl's video, and if she had not said, I chose not to wear makeup on my wedding day, I wouldn't have thought nothing. Old girl is pretty. Skin was skinning. She looked beautiful. I literally would not have even noticed she wasn't wearing makeup. Now, clearly, I believe that's because I have a more natural aesthetic. I'm not wearing any makeup right now because I'm dealing with some eye health stuff. And every single time I put on makeup, it's pretty light. It's like me except better. My wedding makeup was me except better. Like I look at my wedding makeup and I did my wedding makeup in the bathroom at the cruise terminal because I got married on a cruise ship. No makeup artist, just me and my makeup. And I was cute. Okay. And I have no regrets. Yeah. And even though the aesthetic has changed a lot more since I got married a long, long time ago, I still have a very natural beauty. The gal na need na makeup to be a cutie, 'cause she's a queen. Tariffs Riley. Beauty aesthetic. But it begs to say that, like, the fact that she went viral and the fact that people were negatively commenting on her video shows the beauty standards of, I'll just go with America because that's where she lives, how it has infiltrated our brains to the point that people really believe that they have to put on makeup. Not that they want to, but they have to. And I don't have a problem with makeup. I love a makeup. Full beat yourself into submission if you want to, okay? But it's the same way I think about hair. If you think you have to change your natural hair, that's a problem in the mind. The battlefield is in the mind. And I did too much foundational seminal work in the natural hair community to think that that's a thing. Not 20 years solid in the natural hair community to free you and liberate your mind, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind. Okay, Bob Marley. I did too much work. So if you don't want to wear makeup, that's fine. If she's not a makeup wearer in real life and she wants to present herself at her wedding as her actual self, imagine living in a world where she's told not to. Who's doing that? If people are to be allowed to show up authentically, full bust down, full facial paint, entirely changing their entire look, and they have the right to do that, I have no problem with that. Okay, knock it out. It's a skill. It's amazing. Okay, then why she can't show up looking how she wanted to look? It's wild work to me. Let's move on. Target, okay, the company that is being boycotted because of its stance on DEI that comes after it using DEI as a way to make sales and garner the trust of the Black community. Because that's what I learned when I asked the question about why we were coming down so hard on Target versus other places. They was like, because it hurt more. And I was like, okay, I listen. We listen and we don't judge. Okay. Target is selling right now. I looked it up on their website, a shirt that says, thank Black women, a t-shirt. You could go out there right now with $13 and change. For under $14, you could get a shirt that says, thank Black women. And I saw somebody on Facebook posted and say, Target is trying to get us to come back talking about, hey, big head, how you doing? Anyway, I looked at the reviews. There were only 15, which is great. That means people are not spending a lot of time dragging Target for filth in the reviews yet, I guess. And all of the reviews prior to like a few months ago were positive, which means the shirt is out there. It's been out there. It's not like it's new. But the more recent reviews are like, this is tone deaf. We don't want it. Go away. Which means Black women ain't having it. Okay. And that tickled me. Have I gone back in Target since last year? No. Do I regret not getting that avocado mug that Tabitha was selling in her new collection? And do I really wish that Tabitha had her own website to sell her stuff? Yes. But it is what it is, you know, fight the power. Fight the power that be. Next, it is April while I'm filming this. And on April 1st, we had a treat that we were not expecting. Okay. Chocolate Dropper hit us with a tiny desk. Or as somebody in the comments said, a regular size desk. because he's tiny. You get it? Anyway. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you need to go to YouTube because you are missing out on joy. Okay, you're missing out on joy. We haven't seen Chocolate Dropper in a while. It was freestyle according to him. It was the first and only tiny desk that didn't use tracks with live music. Okay. And Kendrick Lamar has 24 hours to respond. Next, Saturday Night Live is back. I have laughed more at recent Saturday Night Live skits than ever before. It had really died out back in the day and it didn't bring me that much joy. And if I'm being honest, I didn't really watch Saturday Night Live at all. I wouldn't like sit down and watch it. I would just catch the clips online because who had the time? And even then, a lot of it would drop flat. As much as I don't like the political climate that we're in, it's horrible for our actual lived experience and the country and the economy and health and mental health and all. It's horrible in general, but it is a gold mine for comedians. Okay. They are doing a Saturday Night Live skit about the correspondence dinner, right? And Eggy's like, the character Eggy is like, I want to be a comedian at the correspondence dinner. She jumped up from behind the Weekend Update desk and she's swinging the mic in the audience face. And I watched a lady on TikTok who was in the audience describe what her experience was. So it was even more funny. So the first time she's swinging the mic in the audience face, they don't say nothing. And, she do a little ad lib and bop, bop, bop. Then at one point she said, these men ain't, and she swing the mic and the whole audience screams out ish, but not ish, because I haven't decided whether I'm gonna cuss, although I do cuss in real life. Okay. But I'm not there yet. I have cursed on the internet before. Listen, this is an existential moment. Y'all focus. She said, these men ain't, and with the quickness and in unison, like they had practiced it, which they had not, because the first time nobody said anything. They all said, these men ain't ish. It shocked her. You could see the shock on her face. And she says right after they do it, oh, we finna get fined for that. Because she was like, wait. Now, the lady who was in the audience said everybody in the audience didn't say anything the first time because there was no call and response. Like we were basically like told, sit, don't say a bunch of craziness, but react and enjoy the show and clap and everything. No, we didn't know what to do with the mic. So the first time when she swung the mic out, nobody really said anything because we weren't sure. The second time when she swung the mic out, we felt like that was her way of saying, you guys can talk. Like, come on, you guys. And without any practice, everybody basically said what it was. Now, if men are upset about that, I haven't heard any man say they are, but if men are upset about the collective thought process being that they're not ish, blame the patriarchy. Sit with that discomfort and do the work to fix it. Also, that ish was hilarious. Next, there is a viral series happening right now on TikTok, and I need to talk about it. It is called The Group Chat, and it is by a creator named Sydney Joe. As of recording this, she has dropped 4 parts. What is it, Rushni? It's a multi-character scenario where you've seen this before, where one creator is playing all the different parts, right? So she's this person, that person, this person, that person. And in this scenario, it is based off of a friend group, girls group chat, and what's going down in the group chat. And it is amazing. I don't know Sydney Joe from a can of paint. I don't know her, but her writing is great. And I could literally see her getting writing gigs off of this, akin to how Nate, the comedian that did Buggin' last year, did the multi-character when bugs come out thing. And he has had so much success from that. By the way, season 2 has started because it's spring and the bugs are back. Okay. So if you're missing that, go to Instagram and get your life. This group chat thing is on TikTok though. And it is girls going out to dinner, one friend acting funny and being like super man-centered, we think, okay. And then her name's Haley. And then like her man's name is Justin. And they're going to dinner, but then somebody's changing the reservation, and then Haley leave the group chat, and this is a whole situation. And where we are now at number 4, at part 4, okay, we have celebrities, we have brands in the comments, everybody sat, okay, millions of views, because the woman's writing, Sydney Joe's writing, is so perfect and suspenseful, and all the details are impeccable. So where we are now is they have all descended on the new restaurant, okay, Justin is there. The friends are coming in. Haley shows up pretending like she don't know what's going on when she's the one that orchestrated the whole situation. Okay. The friends are trying to figure out what's happening. Justin's like, what's going on? Why are you guys here? And then a new girl shows up, walks up, and is like, hey, babe, our table's ready. Who are you? And why is your dress so fitted when all the other friends are wearing like milkmaid dresses? Okay. Why does Sydney Joe have so many milkmaid dresses? That's the question. Sydney, what's happening? Anyway, I am verklempt. Okay. Is that how you say verklempt? Verklempt? I think it's KLE. I am astonished. Okay. I am glued. I saw somebody online say, oh my God, Justin's a cheater. Justin's a cheater. And I was like, how do you know he's a cheater? What if Haley's a stalker? And they were like, well, how would Haley be a stalker when at the end, Justin was like, I can explain. And I was like, see, that's because you think that I can explain is to Haley. What if the I can explain is to the friends and the new girl? Because if he said I can explain to Haley, Justin is trash. Okay. But if he said I can explain to the friends and the new girl, he can explain that Haley is insane. Anyway, if you are missing out on it, search group chat Sydney Joe on TikTok and get your life together. Okay. This is better than Netflix. All right. Next. April 5th was the day that the TikTok ban part 2 was supposed to go into effect. And unlike the original TikTok ban date, whenever that was, I don't remember. It's all blurry. Nobody seemed to care. When it was crashing and burning before, when the Titanic of TikTok, the TikTok-tanic was sinking before, slowly, we had all of the parts. We had the violin players going down with the ship. We had people jump into Red Note. We had all of it. People were crashing out, burning. People were sliding down the wall. People were putting up goodbye videos and the whole shebanga. Okay. Them suckers took it away from us and brought it back in 8 hours. And with a notice to thank -92 for something that he created, a problem he created. We're supposed to thank him for it. Yeah. I don't know if y'all know this. That is abuser number 1, but whatever. Okay. Then it was extended to April 5th. April 5th came and went. It is April 8th as I record this. I saw nothing. We didn't care. At this point, we all know that we are in an abuse and neglect cycle and relationship, and I don't really think anybody cares. Okay? The way that nobody said anything. I saw one video of somebody basically saying, ain't nobody saying anything, and that was it. I saw no goodbye videos. I saw nothing. That whole entire app could have disappeared on April 5th and you would have been none the wiser, because I think all of us are out there thinking, listen, you already screwed up our nervous systems and we don't have time for it. We are out here knowing that this is temperamental. Anyway, word on the street, and I didn't even research this, okay? Because like I said, we are so psychologically detached at this point from the abuse and neglect cycle that it is what it is. Take it if you want it and keep it, okay? But word on the street is -92 went down to the Western Union and put a few more dollars on our calling card, and there's a 75-day extension. Do I know this to be true? I do not. Next, okay? And this is the last one in pop culture. There is a NBA player named Ant Edwards, and he has caused a ruckus. And I want to talk about it. I found out about this because a Facebook friend was asking this question, and I'd never heard of any of this. And I thought it was an interesting mental gymnastics type of thing. But if you've heard about it, let me know your thoughts. So basically, Ant is young, single, and for the streets. Okay. He is sleeping around, which is what some young single people do. And actually some old single people. And come to think of it, some people and some people who are not single, people be sleeping around. Okay. This country, America, is such a sexually repressed place, but it doesn't stop people from needing and wanting and attempting to go get their sexual needs met. They just realize that they have to do it in secret. That is why the more conservative the group, the more likely it is for usage rates to go up on hookup apps when they are in town. Like Republican National Convention equals crashing apps like Grindr, because the more hateful the venom they put toward the thing, the more likely they are doing it. Okay. The lady does protest too much. Back to Ant Edwards. Okay. So he's for the streets. And because he's for the streets, he put his peenie weenie into a woman, which is what people for the streets do. Okay. And that woman knew that he was for the streets. So they had a for the streets agreement. And whether or not you morally think that that's okay, whether or not that's how you do your life, there are people out here doing that out here. Okay, that's what they're doing. She was aware that there were apparently other children, other women. She wasn't looking, and I don't know what her intentions were. Okay. You could make assumptions, but listen, you know what they say about making assumptions. Okay. And surprise, 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 surprise. She got pregnant. Surprise, surprise. Because people doing this aren't making great decisions. At least I say that. You look at it and you're just like, I don't think these are people concerned about outcomes enough. But that's their life to live. Okay. She gets pregnant. He asks her to terminate the pregnancy. She says, I will terminate the pregnancy. We're all on the same page. Okay. We're all on the same page. He gives her stacks on stacks and stacks of money. Okay. Finances for this agreement to terminate the pregnancy. Then she decides she's not going to do it. Oh, this is where it gets wild. Okay. Hold on to it. She don't give the man his money back. So she stays pregnant, takes the money for the termination and whatever else that money was for, decides without him to keep the baby. I'm keeping my baby. I'm gonna keep my baby. Papa don't preach. Sorry. And also not sorry. You knew what you signed up for when you clicked on this video. Okay. She keeping the baby. She keeping the money, which is wild work. Okay. But listen, not two people making great decisions. So, I mean, a poor decision from poor decision makers should not shock you. That's what I think. Then she had the audacity to bring it up another notch. She sued for paternity and child support and she won. Which, no offense, Aunt, but I mean, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. You knew what you was doing. This is not a man making good decisions that will foster great outcomes for him, his future offspring. He's not concerned about that, clearly by his choices. Once again, poor decisions, poor outcomes, not shocking, okay? So are you following? She now has won a child support judgment for a child that he and her agreed they were not going to have, and he gave her money for termination. She never gave the money back. She sued him for paternity. She got the whole kit and caboodle. Yeah? Here's where the dilemma and the conversation has come in. To not engage with her and his child that he asked her to terminate, and she said she was going to terminate. This man, because he is a famous NBA player and he has money, paid the entire lump sum amount of 18 years of child support and decided, that's all. That's it. That's all. And people were weighing in on what he should be doing, what he could be doing. And my friend on Facebook asked a question. It was the first time I had heard about this. And this was what I said. I had said, okay, if you think of it from a transactional standpoint and you remove decision-making, good parenting, morality, and all of those things from the conversation. You ready for this? His work is done. Now, is that great? No, that's horrible. But he went in transactional, which is, I'm for the streets. Please allow me somewhere wet, hot, and tight to put my penis. And she was like, me, I will allow you somewhere wet, hot, and tight to put your penis and also your sperm near my uterus. Now, was she trying to get that? I don't know. But if she was, she did what she got there to do. The transaction was completed. Okay. And because it's transactional, she went in for the transaction to continue, because if her intention was to get the money, she went and she got the money. She got the money up front before the child support ruling, and then she got the money afterward, which seems like if that was her goal, I'm not saying it is, or it was, she was successful. He also is like, okay, we're doing transactional. Here is what you came for. Here's the money. He didn't push back. He didn't say this and that. He didn't fight her. He just said, here's the money. Goodbye. His work is done. That's what I think. Now, When you bring back in the humanity of it, the social emotional of it, the fathering, the parenting, the poor child that is being used as a pawn for poor decision makers, okay, transactional, and who's going to grow up affected by this behavior, mothered by that woman and fathered by that man and or the man that woman chooses. That's horrifying. That's horrifying. It's wild work. It's nasty out here, okay? But that's not what the conversation was about. And those are my thoughts on Aunt Edwards. Apparently, it was like split down the middle where like women were saying like, but he shouldn't. And I was like, listen, I'm a woman who actually agreed with the men. I hate it. I hate it here. But if you go into things transactionally, and you as a woman, if I'm a woman and I go in with a transactional mindset, how can I be shocked when he responds transactionally? Look, I went in. I don't know. I don't know what she went in for allegedly. Okay, let's move to politics. Politics. Y'all's president, -92, has signed yet another one of his 8 billion executive orders. Okay, he has announced that starting on April 5th, okay, there will be a cross the board 10% tariff on all imports to the United States. So whatever country it is, 10% is the starting point. Do you know what that means before I go on to the rest of the story? That means that even if the US is already the one stiffing that country from the like tariff import, whatever perspective, he's still gonna most likely raise the tariff on them. So it's not like those countries are stiffing us. So we got to get our money back, which is the countries with the higher numbers. That was computed in such a weird way, but whatever. I don't want to. It was such a simple. But the ones that we are in their framework stiffing, he don't care. 10% across the board. Okay. China specifically, which is one of our biggest partners, 54%. 54%. Okay. Which is higher, okay, than the 20 and 34 that he has said before, which is still unbelievably high. I have heard that China in the past would do things like actually uphold American patent laws. They couldn't just take our intellectual property and make it American-made product. You couldn't exactly do it, which is why we have this concept of like the Chinese knockoff. But I've heard, I don't know this to be true, allegedly on the internet, that they are like, listen, F that. You gonna put these in place? We about to just remake y'all products for less money because they have the infrastructure and they have the workforce. Unlike America, they have the infrastructure and the workforce to literally replicate products made in the United States for less money. And they will cost less even with the import tax because the cost of getting the infrastructure and the non-existent workforce to do the same thing comparably in America will make it higher. Does that make sense? So let's say the thing costs $5 now and it's a Chinese knockoff and it's an American, right? America, the idea for the president and his followers is we're going to force this to be where the products are made. China is going to make it. It's going to cost less. They're going to remake what we made, not a knockoff, the exact same thing. This is all alleged. Put the tariff on top of it, okay? And sell it to us at this price. Meanwhile, the American-made version going to be so high because we don't have the infrastructure and we don't have the workforce and it's still not going to meet demand. So the American-made one is going to be up here in pricing. So even this is going to come in. And so now they're just going to be replicating our stuff and still cheaper. And guess what? Both of these are higher than this. And if you're listening on audio platforms, I'm sorry. I'm doing like a hand motion thing where I'm showing that no matter what, the prices are going to go up. Because the idea of what's going to happen and what is most likely going to happen based off of how markets work. Anyway, the way that the tariffs were calculated was so simplistic. Listen, them suckers got a poster board from Michael's. Okay, Hobby Lobby most likely. and printed out their little post. They were so excited about their little poster board with the tariff numbers. And I want to say words that sound smart about this, but there's so much happening that displays that we have. Not me, I didn't do it. Let me say that again. 92% we didn't do it. That they have put dodo birds at the helm. Did you see? I forgot the video where the person, Peter Navarro was the name, and I don't remember who he is. Let me look him up. So Peter Navarro is the top trade advisor of Negative 92 from back in the day. Apparently, Muskrat got Navarro's name in his mouth lately because Muskrat is saying that he's a moron and dumber than, what does this say? And dumber than a sack of bricks. Imagine the pot calling the I cannot. The kettle black. Okay. But here's what I found out from the internet, allegedly. Back in the day, in the first administration, before Negative 45 as he was back then, became Negative 92 now with all of his croonies. He was going to somebody for advice because he don't understand what's going on. You could tell that he don't understand what's going on. So he alley-ooped it to somebody else. This person allegedly just went on Amazon, looked for the name of a book that made sense for some of the advisoring that he wanted, found the name of a book, something about death by China or something like that, by this Peter Navarro guy, made Navarro a advisor. In all of Navarro's works, he would cite this person called Ron Vera, who was like this epic, amazing economy person. Okay. When I'm watching the story, I'm thinking, Ron Vera is just an anagram of Navarro. It's just his last name, the words remixed. That's what I'm thinking immediately. 2 seconds, I thought that. 2 seconds. I saw the name of the supposed economic expert, Ron Vera, and saw Peter Navarro's name and thought, that's literally his name, his last name with the letters rearranged. But apparently my mind is working at a different clip than the president and his whole group of advisors, because they didn't pick that up back in the early administration, the first go round when he was the 45th president. They didn't notice that. And they took all of this advice from Peter Navarro, right? And then later in this administration, from what I understand, they brought him back. They tried to get him to bring Ron Vera, who was this amazing advisor. And then come to find out, everybody ate. I'm sorry. My brain is full of social media sounds. And this is just what comes up, okay? Y'all know what you signed up for. Come to find out, Ron Vera is, say it with me, not real. Ron Vera is made up because Ron Vera, like I said, 2 seconds into listening to the news story, is just Navarro with the letters rearranged. And these are the people that have our country in their hands. People voted for him. That's the part that's... I'm not shocked that people like this exist. I used to be, but that was a younger version of me. I'm shocked that so many people are so easily manipulated. Like, I'm not saying anything because everything I feel like saying is not that kind, if I'm being honest. I don't know. The world feels scary when you realize, I've said this a million times, cognitive functioning is on a spectrum. And if somebody has to be high cognitive functioning and somebody has to be mid-range cognitive functioning, somebody has to be low. And those people don't know they're low. They think they're not. That's what's scary. Let's move on. Next. Apparently, Trump is upset. Ooh, I said his name. Let me wash my mouth. Oh, it hurt coming out. It hurt. Okay. Negative 92. Oh, so much better. is upset because there is a portrait of him in the Colorado State Capitol that he don't like what it looks like. Okay. He said that they distorted his likeness and he wants it down. The artist says that her whole career is in peril now because apparently he got her in his sights and he won't let go. I looked at the picture and this is what I want to say. I don't think that negative 92 knows what he looks like because it looks like him. I think she did an amazing job, and I'm not joking. I think it looks like him. I think her style of painting the presidents, that's what he looks like. So now he's mad because he's trying to do like what people used to do in historical times, which is have the artist change what he looks like from what he looks like in real life. So you live in a distorted reality and you are trying to force us to be in it, sir. Okay. What in the emperor has no clothes? Okay, I gotta move on. Next, on April 5th, there was what was deemed a hands-off protest across the United States and the world. I saw people protesting all over the planet on April 5th. It was called hands off. Not sure why it was called hands off. You know why I don't know why it was called hands off? Because I am Black and I am a woman and we stayed at home. I voted for Kamala Harris. I voted for Hillary Clinton. I have never. In negative 92's first presidential run, it was wild work from the jump, and I could not believe what I was watching. I would vote for a plucked strand of my hair before I vote. I'm not joking. I will write in anything before I would never. You hear that man talking about a third term? He don't even care. That man said, listen, I'm in here right now and I'm busting it up. People voted for that. Okay, Rashni, you have a podcast that finished. I know that disgust is not a healthy, super healthy emotion, although they had it on Inside Out, so I don't understand what the problem is. But I be feeling it thick and often, okay? So the protest happened. It's called Hands Off. And amazingly, the police managed to keep their hands off the protesters. Across the nation, I saw a TikTok where they showed shots of the crowds in every single state. It was that song singing the different state names, and every state they showed the different protest. There was a protest in every single state, large protests in every single state, as well as countries across the planet protesting negative 92 and his pluckery. Okay? His pluckery. His crashing of our markets, his forcibly making us go into a recession, his tearing people's 401ks up, his causing all of these rich people, the Barstool sports guy and different rich humans and Warren Buffett and all these people to come out and be like, what the hell? Oh my God, I done lost $8 gajillion dollars. Or Warren Buffett actually pulled his money out because that's why he's Warren Buffett. Like he actually did something to hedge so that he could be cash heavy, whatever. The protest was happening. It was a good time to watch, okay? Wahite people were out there and they were doing what they was doing. I feel like it's time for white people to act more as a collective and not so individualism, which is part of whiteness. Not being of European descent, if you are listening to this and you just felt a little tinge, sit with that discomfort. I'm talking about the social construct of whiteness versus being of European descent. Okay, two different things in my mind, okay? That individualism, that word tried to take me out. The individualism that is promoted, the pull yourself up by your bootstraps, the environment doesn't have anything to do with the outcomes. Take the money away and just deal with it. I pull myself up by my bootstraps. That is whiteness. And I feel like this was their attempt. I'm not saying it was great. I'm not even applauding it. Good for them for dragging their own kind. Because if you look at the numbers, y'all are the ones that have us in this state that we're in. If you were to pull out people that adhere to oppressive constructs out of the voting dynamics and demographics, there's no way that man would have been voted in. Okay. I did a video on my Glamazini page about the performance tax and how privilege is a prison and it almost like Men in Black's part of your brain unless you do the work. It's so wonderful to see so many of them doing the work. Also, there's some wild stuff going on out there, but that's not, listen, in my mind, I'm rolling my eyes. My eyes have rolled out of my head and down the street a few times, but at the same time, I'm not going to knock small changes that they are making. They got to learn. Okay. So the woman who was online complaining about the fact that they should have more child-friendly things at the protest, like a bouncy house. When I tell you the whiteness of that, imagine being at a protest that you know is so peaceful that you got your kid out there and you want them to entertain you. Sorry. Imagine feeling so safe. Because remember, somehow, ain't nobody was out there in riot gear cruising for a bruising, right? And you could be like, well, that's because the Black people weren't there and they're usually the problem. No, because we already told you what was going to happen beforehand. And we told you we're not coming out there because the minute we show up, they're going to want to beat everybody. Okay. And say that they want to be like, I'm so afraid. I already covered this, matter of fact. And I said it in my Glamazini video. So go back. It's called a performance tax. Like I said, it's too much to ask for at this point. You asking me to do too much cognition for you in 2025 when the information exists. And Alanis Morissette said, I am not your doctor. So I'm not even going to explain that to you anymore. I'm just going to be a higher cognitive functioning person and move on. The police can not be a violent police state when they decide to. That's basically what came out of that. And that's sad. Watching it from outside. Now, I am not a street protester. Okay. I never have been. I am a community carer. I am a communal support creator. I am a community space. I'm a safe space creator. Okay. I am a transformation agent. That's how I add to this thing. Okay. Although I do feel like I'm going to start calling people in my district, even though I'm like surrounded by red state people, just to give them a little piece of my mind. Okay. I'm not going to give away a piece of my mind. But I feel like, just to, if I can email the Bitmoji people who have recently changed their Bitmojis from the 2D to the 3D trash, the basura that Bitmoji is giving us right now, if I can give them a strongly worded letter a la Karen every, once or twice a week, which I have been doing, short and or long, to let them know how I feel about it. I could call my senator. I could call my congressman and let them know how I feel about it. But anyway, that's how the protest went on April 5th. And speaking of protests, okay, Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey broke a record by doing a 25-hour and 5-minute speech on the Senate floor. He started around about 7-something that night. First of all, he told us on TikTok, I'm going to go up there and see how long I can stay. Okay, I'm going to stay as long as I can physically able to stay. Okay. He trained for it because apparently he is a former athlete and he had fasted into it over the weekend. He said to get his ketones up. So hello, as a person who does keto diet, makes sense to me. He said he anticipated sleep and hunger being the issue, but actually dehydration was the biggest issue. And he started to cramp up. Okay, there was a cramp up, but the pages and his staff really supported him. He went straight through the evening. And when the morning broke, he caught his stride. That man was reading letters from his constituents, from people who weren't his, people who didn't even vote for him, were begging him for help at this point. Okay. Because the people who didn't vote for him, the people who walked into a voting booth after seeing what negative 45 did and made him negative 92, showed their racist hand. Fight me if you want to, because they thought, based off of what they saw before, nothing was going to happen to them. They were okay with bad things happening as long as it didn't happen to them, right? They thought that it was going to only be the DEI people, not realizing that the largest category of people that get DEI is white women. And I've been seeing them jokers crashing out. losing their jobs and crashing out, confused. They're like, what? And it's just like, ma'am, equity. You are not in your womanhood. I already covered this in my video, but in your womanhood, you are not the top. You are not the privileged class. I'm just going to move on from that. Okay. Cory Booker set a record, and the most impressive part of it all, or at least the part that just tickled something beautiful in my ancestral DNA, is the record that he broke was set 68 years ago by Strom Thurmond of South Carolina, who was a segregationist that was trying to filibuster against the Civil Rights Act of 1957. Strom stood up there with his racist, segregationist self. Ironically, Democrat, because the parties have just gone all over the place at this point, okay? It used to be the other way around. Now it's this way, right? Which means it's all made up. That man stood up there with his racist bus for 24 hours because he felt in his spirit so much that we needed to be segregated that he did not want the Civil Rights Act to pass. It passed anyway. And Cory Booker, who is a Black man, by the way, if you didn't know that, broke his record. And all I have to say is you love to see it. Okay, the last thing I want to cover very quickly is last week, former vice president, which is sad to say, and should have been president, Kamala Harris, was spotted in one of the rare outings that we see her in, okay? Delivering a speech at the Leading Women Defined Summit. I watched the video, and during the video, she was in her Kamala professional vice president voice, which seems to upset people who don't understand code switching, typically privileged class people who have never had to code switch for their safety and show no desire to understand the lived experience of people who are not them. But she was doing that voice, right? That used to throw them for a loop. That one didn't throw them for a loop. They thought that was her. And at one point in the conversation, when she was talking about the fear that's happening and this and that, and all the things that are happening that can scare people, and basically like the fear can start in one place and it can kind of just catch, like it can be contagious, okay? She leaned in. You could see in her mind the wheels were turning. She leans in and she says, listen, I'm not here to say I told you so. She pulls back from the mic while she's saying it, but we heard you. And she starts giggling, which is her actual Kamala. That giggling, listen, I didn't come here to say I told you so, under the breath is her true personality, like how she is at the house, at the cribbo Kamala, okay? And I think that that's one of the things that I miss the most about her. I miss her joy. I miss her cogency. I miss her qualification. But I miss the fact that she did dip in and out so easily and show us herself. She showed us herself and she said, listen, I'm not here to tell you I told you so. But she kind of did say I told you so, because, you know, when a person say, I'm not going to say it, but they say it, which -92 loves to say stuff like that. It's them saying it. And the way that she giggled when she said that, I don't think she was giggling because she thinks it's funny. But she was like, listen, there's joy in all of it. Like, I was right. It was kind of her way of being like, I mean, I did tell you so. There are compilation videos people are putting together of what's happening right now that people act shocked about. And literally, it'll be 15 different clips of Kamala or Tim Walz on the campaign trail telling us it literally is going to happen. And they're like, I didn't know. Listen, at this point, the woman told you so many times, either something is cognitively wrong with you and you need support for that. So I need you to reach out to a mental health and or healthcare professional, or that is willful ignorance. You are choosing it for some reason. And the reason is not mine to figure out. Okay. Alanis Morissette said, it's too much to ask for, and I am not your doctor. I had the wildest thought the other day. Was it last night? I was thinking about Kamala and how she shows us a human being, a person, right? The ability to be a real, actual person and not this like distant, detached machine trying to come and hoover, like suck us all dry for we're all the capital in capitalism, right? She shows us a person, and that's part of what I really enjoyed about her and her campaign. Even during her being the vice president, she was very reserved, which is what the vice president does, the same way that Biden was that way when Obama was up there, right? The vice president is not supposed to be up in the front, knucking and bucking. The vice president is supposed to be like an armor bearer in the back. As soon as she went into campaign mode, we got to see so much more Kamala. And then as soon as she didn't win, it's like she took it away from us. And I wanted that. I wanted to keep it. I miss it. I miss that. But here's a weird thought. I was sitting next to the bed, on the bed. I was sitting on the bed, about to go to bed last night. And I had this thought about like -92 and like what he does when he's finished out here ruining the world. Like, does he, you see the villain in a movie, a cartoon villain or a real villain, and after they finish like ruining the world, okay, they go home and they just like take off their costume and put on their bunny slippers and, make a cup of tea, sit down and watch a movie, eat a TV dinner. Like, I had this thought of him and I was like, what does this man do at night? Does he come out here, wreck shop like Wreck-It Ralph, piss off the entire planet, and then go home and just eat like dinner, have some popcorn, play with the dog? Do they even have a dog? Water the plants, put on some slippers, have on like a wife beater, sit on the edge of the bed, put a bonnet on that comb over. Wouldn't it be funny if it was just like a little tiny orange bonnet on the top? Like, it wasn't even a whole head bonnet. It was just a little baby bonnet just for the comb over part. Apply his tanner. Melania helps him put on compression socks. Now, she ain't in the room with him. She don't sleep with him. She don't like him. So he in there by himself, or he's paid somebody who has to do it because money. And then he just gets up in the bed and tucks up and goes to sleep and be sleeping peaceful while he sets the world on fire. I was thinking about that last night. I don't know. Anyway, that, my friends, is another taping of the I've Created a Monster podcast. This video is sponsored by patreon.com/Glamazzini and the Black Woman Healing Fund, a fund that provides financial gifts to Black and West Indian women on a healing journey. To support the fund and to be live when I record this podcast, become a patron at patreon.com/Glamazzini. And don't forget, ladies and men, if you're watching, hello, y'all. Show up. Speak up. F something up and create your own monster. Bye, y'all.